People don't become global sensations by accident. Rarely do overnight stars appear out of nowhere, untouched by the world around them. But that's exactly how many people describe iShowSpeed, a name that exploded from gaming streams to stadium crowds, from viral clips to trending news, as if the internet itself gave birth to him. If you've followed him at all, you know the energy, the unpredictability, the raw emotion, the laughter, the tears, the explosions of passion one moment, the silence and reflection the next. But how did this happen? Why did a teenager with a webcam and a microphone become one of the most talked about personalities of his generation? And more importantly, what does the rise of speed reveal about our culture, our psychology, and the way the world now defines fame? To begin answering these questions, we have to understand the landscape in which he emerged. A landscape shaped by screens, algorithms, dopamine loops, and millions of eyes hungry for authenticity. Social media has democratized fame. In the past, becoming a global celebrity required studios, producers, executives, and years of industry navigation. Today, platforms like YouTube and Twitch allow anyone to broadcast themselves to the world from a bedroom. Pathways to fame have shifted from gatekeepers to followers, from networks to notifications, from permission to platform dynamics, and Speed rode that shift unlike almost anyone else. He didn't build a perfect persona. He built a raw one, not polished, not rehearsed, but real in real time, emotional, unpredictable, chaotic, and extremely human. That rawness became his trademark. Viewers watched him not because he was perfect, but because he was unfiltered. He expressed what many people feel but rarely show: excitement, frustration, confusion, embarrassment, triumph, vulnerability, adrenaline, all on camera. Those moments created connection. Not admiration, not envy, but familiarity, in a world full of branded, edited, and meticulously curated content. Speed was refreshingly unpredictable. But beyond personality, there's a deeper reason he resonated with millions. The world he rose in is one shaped by attention scarcity, short-form dopamine loops, emotional relatability, instant interaction, and micro-moments of connection. Social media today isn't just entertainment, it's a lifeline for attention, a currency of validation, a mirror of desire. In that world, audiences aren't passive. They participate, they comment, they react, they share. They shape the fame machine from the ground up. Speed mastered this participation. His streams weren't monologues. They were conversations, battles, emotional exchanges with an audience. His viewers weren't spectators, they were collaborators. And as his popularity grew, something interesting happened. The world began to see him not just as an entertainer, but as a cultural phenomenon. Yes, many critics scoffed at the noise, but millions found something magnetic, something real, something unguarded. He became a mirror of a generation that values authenticity over polish, prefers raw emotion to rehearsed calm, and loves chaos more than control. This isn't shallow, it's psychological. People don't tune in for perfection, they tune in for presence. Speed's rise didn't occur in a vacuum. It happened in a culture where screens replaced dinner tables, where comments replace conversations, and where followers sometimes feel more real than friends. But perhaps the most remarkable chapter in his rise has been his Africa tour.
2 months. December is when I'll be doing the Africa tour. December. Now I'm not going to tell y'all the date.
When Speed announced his tour dates for cities across the continent, many people were stunned. Some saw it as a publicity stunt. Others saw it as a testament to his global reach. What happened next was neither. Fans poured out to see this global icon. Not just hundreds, not just thousands, tens of thousands. In places like Angola, his first stop, he engaged with local tribes, participated in street races, and made headlines for donating $1,000 to a young fan. In South Africa, he spent the New Year period streaming from cities like Cape Town and Johannesburg, meeting with local figures like the mayor of Cape Town. He made a brief stop in Mozambique, and in Eswatini, he was trained as a tribal soldier and given the official name Logijimago, which means the runner. As of early January, he was in Botswana, experiencing local safaris and wildlife, with plans to visit Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and more. Some came wearing Speed merchandise. Some came with signs, creative tributes, and letters of admiration. Many spoke of him as more than entertainment, as something uplifting, cathartic, or emotionally significant. But let us pause here for a moment and ask a deeper question. Why does an internet personality generate this kind of real-world passion? Most artists earn this kind of devotion after years, decades, or multiple creative eras. But Speed gained it in a fraction of the time, and without the traditional infrastructure of a music career or film industry. That says something about the culture that grew up watching him. It tells us that people are no longer waiting for permission to love. They're building their own stars, their own communities, their own movements. The Africa tour also showed another powerful truth. Social media is no longer a digital echo chamber. It has real-world gravity. When people show up physically by the tens of thousands, it means that the impact was more than fleeting attention. It was emotional investment, and that is what makes this phenomenon worthy of deeper reflection. But the story is not without complexity, because alongside the adoration and applause, there were critics, controversies, and difficult questions. Some commentators worried about the depth of his influence, especially on young audiences. What does it mean when a streaming personality becomes more culturally relevant to youth than traditional role models? What happens when emotional expression, chaos, or unpredictability becomes a template for aspiration? Others raise concerns about aggression, impulsivity, and the emotional volatility that sometimes plays out in his content. And these concerns highlight something important. Cultural influence is not neutral. It shapes identity. It frames emotional responses. It affects expectations. In other words, the rise of Speed is not just about why one person became famous. It's about what the world around him needed and what it reflected back. A generation weary of polished masks. A world craving authenticity. An audience tired of filtered perfection. A culture hungry for connection that feels unmediated. But there is another element that is often overlooked, the pressure of being an internet figure of this scale. When your life, emotions, triumphs, and setbacks are broadcast in real time, something profound happens psychologically. Every mistake is public. Every cheer is amplified. Every emotional shift is analyzed. There is no off switch. And when fame happens faster than personal maturity, the internal world of the creator must expand just as quickly, often without preparation. People adore the chaotic moments. They share the emotional eruptions. They mimic the energy. But they rarely see the personal cost beneath it, not because they don't care, but because they're not there. This invisible psychological pressure is part of the modern fame paradox. You gain influence, but lose privacy. You gain admiration, but lose control over your own narrative. You gain followers, but sometimes lose your sense of self. This paradox isn't unique to iShowSpeed. It's a symptom of a larger cultural shift. Fame used to be rare, selective, managed. Now it's algorithmic, instant, distributed, participatory. Someone who has never played on a professional stage can suddenly pack one because millions of people feel personally connected to him. And that tells us something important about our culture, not about Speed, about us. It tells us that many people today are seeking connection that feels direct, emotion that feels real, leaders who feel accessible rather than unreachable, and moments that feel alive rather than produced. This desire isn't shallow, it's human. People want to see themselves reflected, not perfected, not filtered, not branded, just unguarded humanity. So when we look at why iShowSpeed became a global sensation and why his Africa tour became a phenomenon, it's not merely a story about a streamer who got lucky. It's a story about a culture that's changing how it connects, how it worships influence, and how it assigns meaning. A culture that is done with distant, unattainable figures, and instead embraces figures who feel present, emotional, and unpredictable. Speed didn't become big because he is perfect. He became big because he is real. Messy at times, vulnerable at times, joyful and chaotic and inconsistent, just like many of the people watching him. And maybe that's the most revealing part of all. Not that we crave chaos, but that we crave something real in a world of manufactured perfection. And before we conclude, here's an important reflection. The rise of Speed is not just a story about one person. It is a story about how the world meets meaning, how people seek belonging, how screens replaced dinner table conversations, how emotional connection migrated to comment sections, how influence no longer flows from top down, but from community to figure. And in this shift, we see both promise and danger. Promise, because connection doesn't require permission anymore. Danger, because the boundaries between life and performance are dissolving. As we continue to navigate this new cultural terrain, one thing becomes clear. We're not just watching stars rise. We're watching the shape of culture itself transform. If this analysis spoke to you, if it made you think deeper about the way the world engages with fame, emotion, and identity, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to Vloggo Uncovered, where we unpack the stories beneath the headlines, the psychology beneath the trends, and the truths most people never stop to question. I'll see you in the next one.